Sup buds, it's Z here again to show you my CANNABIS grow, and on this week's episode I'm going to be showing you a really rough cut of a seed to harvest. It's not the cleanest seed to harvest, it's actually the one that I had to recover because I really neglected the shit out of it. Excuse me. I just had to do some rough cleaning, but we'll get into some later cleaning, and we'll also show some of the harvest because there were some great selections and great phenotypes out of this one. So we'll talk about more of those, and we'll talk about what I'm working on lately and what we're working on next. So stay tuned, and we might as well watch through because what else are you gonna do?
Don't use that cocaine or marijuana because that stuff is highly addictive. When people become weed heads, they become sluggish, lazy, stupid, and unconcerned. That's all marijuana does to you. Okay? This is Mom. Unless you're taking it under doctor's control, then it's regulated.
Just to be clear, guys, I only give this out for informational purposes. I do not condone growing anything prior to looking into your own municipality's laws on cultivation. Nothing you see here is for sale, and it's fully legal to grow in my state. Now let's get into it. So, as I told you, I don't really have a good video of me popping these seeds. I didn't pop them. I don't know if I even recorded it, to be honest, because at this time I was going through a rough spot. We don't have to get into the details, but I was not feeling myself, and the plants were not feeling themselves because of it. So it is what it is, and eventually I started trying to pull through it. So there was periods where I would come through and try to keep the grow on track, and I was just barely watering things, keeping things just barely alive, and so despite all that, I still ended up popping some seeds, guys, and eventually I ended up at a spot where I had some plants that I was growing, and I kind of show them briefly in this little clip here because I was cleaning the other tent. So these are the ones that I was growing out of. Eventually, originally they were planning to go to a basement grow at my buddy's, but I never even made it to there because I just couldn't do it, guys. Dude, we didn't pull through. So the things that happened, we don't have to get into, but you probably already know. And we'll just, sometimes life gets in the way, guys. And that's why I wanted to show this video, because everything's not always perfect. And you're not, just because you had a bad grow doesn't mean you're a bad guy. Just because you had a good grow doesn't mean you're a good guy. So you got to always hold yourself up to your own standards and try to be better each grow. Because, if you're comparing yourself to others, then you're not going to get anywhere. And the only way to improve is to just compare yourself to your last grow and just try to make those improvements, make those changes, learn from your mistakes, so that every grow eventually is going to be pretty on point. And, it doesn't matter, because even when you do get there, you're still going to have a mistake. Or you're just going to lose your flow of things. So that'll happen, and you just got to go with the punches, and that's just life, So we're just going to keep going, and I'm going to pick off at some point here in the grow where I popped seeds, then we went through the germination, I selected my favorite ones, and like most people would probably just throw away everything, but because I had already selected my favorite ones, I decided that it was worth going forward with them and trying to recover them, actually 3 times, because I could have probably killed them at this point. And then I left them in the 1-gallon pots for too long. I left them in the solo cups for too long. Then I left them in the 1-gallon pots for too long. And then they were just in everything for way too long. So normally I would have them in the solo cups for 2 weeks, put them in the 1-gallons for 2 to 3 weeks, and then I'd be ready to transplant them. But my timing's kind of been off, and ever since I went to 1-gallon containers, I've kind of struggled to getting them up to size, because the first few times I transplanted into the 25-gallon pots, I was using 3-gallon containers, and it helped the plants get to a bigger size. But now that I have the 25 gallons a little more established, I don't want to take that much soil out of them, so I went down to the 1 gallons, and I think that's not enough to let the roots have enough time, because sometimes I'm ending up with like 2 or 3 months of veg time, because I'm not taking clones and popping seeds after I switched to flower, or right before I switched to flowering. So then I already have 3 months there, and it takes another 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month sometimes, to transition the pots and get them top dressed and recycled and ready back for another cycle. So I think I'm gonna go with the 2 gallons, and hopefully that's a good in between. So that didn't happen this cycle, and that's why this cycle, and actually the one I just went through, kind of had a similar scenario where they were in the 1 gallons a little bit too long, not quite as long as this one. So you might throw it all out, but because I had already selected my favorites out of the King of Hearts and out of the Heart Shot and out of the Kiwi and the Black Blue Magoo, I decided to stick with them. And that just seemed like the best choice to do, and I held on to those. But what's funny here is, I was trying to pull through, but this is what depression looks like. So this isn't a good cleaning session. I tried to look like I was being busy, and it's going to look like I'm doing great, and trying to act like I'm cleaning all the walls, and I'm hanging down the lights to get in between all these crevices. But the truth is, I didn't even pick up these pots. I was too lazy to get underneath them and put them up like I normally do. I get underneath every crevice, so instead I just put freaking pots down and crawled around on top of them, and on a little pieces of cardboard, so that I could walk on the pots. And that was stupid, because now I'm compressing my medium that I've been trying to keep nice and loose and not compact. So what a fool, what an idiot thing to do. That should only be done in an emergency. If like a light goes off or something breaks, maybe you could walk on your pots. And yeah, so I'm not proud of this video. I wouldn't suggest this is what you should do. And the fact that I even recorded it thinking that was normal is kind of embarrassing. But I don't get embarrassed, so that's why I'm going to show you guys. I'm ruthless to myself. I'm going to show you guys through and through what I did wrong here, and I shouldn't have done that. I should have really went through, but I'm standing on the cardboard, cleaning these fans off, doing my best. But sometimes that's all you can do, guys. So, it doesn't mean that it has to be perfect. Sometimes if you can't lift these big pots, then you can't. So just make sure everything's sealed up nice. Make sure you have a nice layer of plastic underneath your pots and everything's protected. Otherwise, you're going to run into some issues. So here I am just, getting those other plants ready. They're already starting to yellow because they've been in these 1 gallons for too long. And that's where you can see that things start to go awry quite again, because I've already left them in here for way too long. And it's no one's fault but my own, so I'm owning up to it, And I want you guys to know that even if you do end up here, you could end up just resetting and throw everything out. I also have that grape stomper clone there. That's what that bigger plant is. And that one looks good because I had it in a 10-gallon pot, and I was getting ready to make more of the heart stomper seeds on the second release. So it is what it is, though, and if you got some rough plants, you can recover them, or you can just let them go and throw them out. So a lot of people would choose that, but I decided to rough it out and let these things go, and I wanted to heal with them. So putting those fans back together like a numbskull, standing on my pots again. And oh man, I can't believe I did that, thinking that was something I would show you guys. Don't do that. Don't stand on your pots. What a foolish thing to do. Where are we at now? So another thing that I wanted to show you, though, is that even if a plant gets damaged, like if you're trying to bend it and you break a branch, you can repair it. So after a couple weeks, though, in the pots, you can see them start to recover. but like I said, I accidentally bent a branch over and broke it. But you can just pick it up and basically keep it there. So if I was able to, I would just sit here for a week and just hold that branch and it would heal up. But unfortunately, I don't have the time to do that. And so I'm going to just use a small piece of tape to take my place. And basically that tape is going to sit there for just a few days, maybe a week. And eventually that plant is going to, it's the same as grafting. So that's why I think cannabis would definitely be a plant that you could graft with. And I want to try it on a different root of a different plant, or even graft a clone onto the stem of a plant right after I take it down. So yeah, this could be really interesting. So I want to try it. I want to try it, guys. Maybe harvest a plant and then attach a clone right to the stem, and then see if I can just keep that established root system alive. That would be cool, huh? Maybe I'll keep one small branch on the plant alive too, just so that when I attach the new branch, it can do it. I don't know. It's worth a try, and I would do it with a clone that I have extra of. So I don't know. I might just sacrifice a pot and try that next round. It'd be really cool, right? To do like a grafting plant. That's how they graft all the oranges. They're all clones. They're all just grafted onto an existing root system. So 11 days later, the plants are already starting to recover pretty well, and they're looking better, nice and green. And I like to use clear packaging tape for this because it provides a nice rigid structure, and it doesn't stick that much to the stem, so you can easily rip it off. It's also nice because you can see right through it, of course, and you can actually see when things start to heal, and you don't have to just guess. So it takes rid of the guesswork, and allows you to know that your plant's nice and healed. Then you can take that tape right off, and you're gonna have a nice big fat knuckle there now, which is actually probably stronger than it was before. And you can see dirt on the leaves, though. That's because I released some minute pirate bugs to deal with a couple of thrips that I saw floating around. So here we go. We're gonna just clean some scissors in between cuts. In between every plant, it's good to clean your scissors. And I'm gonna go in and snip away some tops and just do some basic training, get away some of those lower nodes. But I'm gonna leave those bigger leaves for big solar panels, and then just train it so that I can get a couple new tops, because I like to do more tops. A lot of people will just bend a branch down and you can get all those lower nodes to become branches, but I find it more beneficial to do something called a manifold. So as well as I don't follow a very strict one, I do basic manifold where I'm topping at the same points on every part of the plant so that the nutrients can be equally dispersed to all the tops. And that way, because especially when you're growing indoors, you want a nice even canopy, so it really helps to do that. And if you have the height, you don't necessarily have to bend everything down like you would. So in a smaller situation, I would train it like that. I would let a couple, 2 or 3 branches get very tall, do one topping, and then maybe get 4 branches and then spread those out, and then from those I would have all the lower nodes become my tops, because if I didn't have a lot of ceiling height, that would be the quickest and best way to do it. And if you were doing a commercial facility, that would probably be how I would train. I just like to get my plants tall because I can, and I'm not in a rush. I'm not in any rush. So I also just set up these Wise cameras, so I'm going to try to get some time lapses. I wasn't in the headspace to do that yet on this grow, and like I said, it just wasn't the one. But future grows, I'm going to be doing a much better documentation showing the whole process from seed to finish. But you can see them starting to really recover here, and it was worth holding on to me because these were already selected, but you can see how much space had already been created and wasted. So all those lower leaves that I removed that were yellow, normally I'd have a much bigger bush. And like, look at this one. This kiwi was like falling apart. I don't even know how this thing recovered, but it did okay. And I'm happy that I continued on with the kiwi, and I hope that the clone I have of it can stay nice and healthy, because the leaves and branches of it that did well are very good, and I do enjoy them a lot. So as the weeks passed by, the plants recovered well, and I didn't let them get to the full size that I would have normally done in here, because they had already took so long to recover, and I just was getting impatient. And I also was trying to enter into a harvest, but I didn't let them flower for as long as I was supposed to enter into a competition, and I had to just harvest at week 9 rather than week 10 or 11 that I normally would let them go, so they weren't as potent as they should have been, and that really, I think, skewed how they could have gone in there. And they were also too wet when I submitted them, so it wasn't the best time to submit a testing when it's wet, because that's going to skew the sample, because if it has more moisture, that's going to mess up the total percentage of material, so that's going to then affect the percentage of THC and the percentage of everything else like terps and whatnot. So I'll show you the test results there. I think I only got a 20% on the East Coast Sweetheart, and I think 20% on the King of Hearts. That one, the East Coast Sweetheart, had about 3% terps, but the King of Hearts had like 3.8% terps, which is interesting because the King of Hearts was more gassy. So it's really interesting. The East Coast Sweetheart was more gassy in the pheno that I sent in. So I don't know. We'll see how some other phenos select. I think that I could find a better East Coast Sweetheart, as well as maybe even a more potent King of Hearts. But the King of Hearts, I'm not complaining. They were amazing. Great high, great smoke. And I'll show you guys them later on in the grow. But, the Black Blue Magoo almost looked like it wasn't going to recover. Same with this King of Hearts here. This was the number 4. That thing was struggling. And so the fact that I went through with it and they actually still came out really good was just it wasn't really surprised, because I knew the living soil was going to save them once I got them in there. And now I just got to keep up with the airflow and keep everything balanced out. But by no means was this grow dialed in. Normally I got my humidifier set during veg so that everything's perfect, and then I have the humidifier, dehumidifier if things are too humid. So, between those two, I can usually dial it in perfectly, but this wasn't really the one that I wasn't really focused on that well. But they still recovered really well just because they were doing well here. I didn't even have my blue mats set up. I just had them off to the side, so they were just sitting. And now we're going to set up the blue mats this next grow and actually see what we could do. I was trying to get myself more hands-on in this recovery phase because I wanted to, just get more in tune with the plants. And I felt like if I was in tune with their healing process, it would help my healing process and get me back on track. And it did. It got me to where I needed to be. So we slowly just picked our way through it and watered them by hand rather than using the blue mats, even though it looks like I have them up there. You can see there's no carrots in the soil, actually. And they actually would have done better with the carrots because they do grow a lot bigger, and they grow, it's a more perfect watering system, especially with these large pots where it's too hard for me to really get the weight of them. Normally when I do like a smaller pot, I can pick them up and know exactly what when I need to water it, but with these big pots it's hard to know. And I was trying it this grow, and that's when I really realized, oh wow, it's actually really beneficial to have the blue mat sensor when you're working with some bigger containers, or some kind of moisture sensor, because it's really hard to dial it in by hand and just wait, because you're working with such a different amount of soil that you're not really used to, and it's already heavy, so it's hard to know like how heavy it should be. But if it's like a smaller pot, like anywhere from a solo cup up to a 15-gallon pot, I'd say, you're fine just doing the hand watering, picking it up and putting it down. Even a 20 gallon might be fine, 15 gallon, but yeah, once you get bigger than that, it starts to get a little tricky, So we got the little girls going in here. We're just keeping everything thriving, keeping things alive, and they weren't thriving though. It is what it is, you do what you can, and I really like what's going on. So I did have to pop some more East Coast Sweetheart because a couple of them that I did in a quick hunt, I didn't actually hunt through those like I did with the King of Hearts and the Heart Shot. I only popped like a few, and then too many of them ended up being male. So I think I only popped, I shouldn't have labeled it the way I did, but I think I only popped 15 to 20 of those. So then the other 10 or 12 that I popped after that, I just like hunted through really quickly and popped a couple even directly in the pot and just hoped for the best. And I ended up with 2 or 3 more females.
Good spread out.
So out of the 12. So I kind of forget what I even did. I'm trying to remember, and I kind of forget. So I didn't keep good track this grow, and it is what it is. But I did hunt through, and I kept through those small East Coast Sweethearts, and I know I had like several, at least 7 or 10 that I stress tested in the small veg tent to try to see if they were stable and what kind of things came out. But I didn't have as many to test and hunt as I did like in the other hunts, because I did like 30 seeds right off the rip of the King of Hearts and the Heart Shot, and that's kind of why I wanted to stick with it. And also the Black Blue Magoo, I'd already popped all those seeds, and the Kiwi. If I let everything die, I was gonna lose those lineages, or at least lose that hunt. I could have bought the seeds again, but I would have had to hunt them again, and I really liked what I found, so I stuck with it, and we ended up going pretty good, and we still got some good East Coast Sweethearts in there, and we were still able to test out enough of the stock to know that, we're getting a pretty stable product. And the East Coast Sweetheart, I ended up with another male out of the other pop that I did. So that's why I'm going to start doing this re-veg thing, where I start to flower the seeds very early, and then I re-veg them. So I think the 2 gallon pot will also come in handy there. And I'm crazy, man. I'm already popping more seeds here. This is like, I think the blue grapes. That's the Heart Stomper crossed into the Blue Power and Mendo Perp. So I'm not sure what I'm going to call that actually yet, but for now I'm just calling it the blue grapes. But we're going to have another name for that. And then I also have the other stuff coming soon. So yeah, the Heart Stomper pops, I'm excited. I'm going to talk about some other stuff coming soon, shortly after this video. But let's just get to the ending of, what we harvested here. We still have so many things to talk about. And all of the different lineages are just so unique, Like, I really like the way that the King of Hearts embodied the king bling and really held on to those weird, like, sweet blueberry terps, but they're not like super blueberry. It's more like a berry, like zesty, and that's why I can call it like a kombucha, because it's got like a weird thing going on between the Heartbreaker and the King Bling. So I really like it. It's definitely unique, and you can see I got some nice golf ball looking buds coming off the Heartbreaker F2 number 11. This one was more of like the OG leaning one, and it's supposed to flower in like 10 weeks to 11 weeks, but I had to harvest it on week 9, so that's why I think the potency was really low when I got the test results done, and it would have done a lot better in the competition that I entered had I let it. But I couldn't, because the competition entry date was, I think it would have been on the day that I would have had to harvest on week 10. So then I wouldn't have had dry plants at all, and I would have just missed it all completely. So I just kind of did it to see if I could enter something in. But I shouldn't have done it when I realized that things weren't perfectly lined up. So from now on, when I'm ready with a harvest, I'm just going to put a jar, get it cured, get it perfect, and put it in the damn fridge for a couple months if I have to. So I'd rather have it be a little bit older than have it too fresh to actually get a proper test, because look at how frosty this was, and it came back at 19% because I sent it in a little too wet. Granted, I don't think it would have been over 25, maybe only 23 or 4, but it still came at 3.3% terps, and that was more gassy though than the other one. So I don't know how that one had less terps than the other one. So testing is what it is, but all my friends say that the stuff gets them more baked than anything they've ever smoked. One kid was playing Xbox Siege and fell asleep while he was playing, and because he smoked that, and because the myrcene's so high. So another kid smoked the King of Hearts, and on his way home, he had to call his cousin to come and pick him up because he couldn't drive. So that King of Hearts number 19, that'll knock you out. So I'm with the number 4, and the number 14 is definitely a great smoke as well. So I liked all of them, and I only popped that many because I could, but you're gonna find a lot of winners in just one pack of those. Every one's frosty, and every one's got really good terps. So it really just comes down to what structure you're kind of looking for, and if you're looking for a more bulbous structure or a more round structure. So you'll find both of those in there. Like the 19's a little more bulbous, but they actually all kind of have the same structure, to be honest. I mean, look at how similar they are. They're really similar. So I can't complain with the King of Hearts. I think that was a great cross, and that one releases on 420, so I am super excited for that one. And I'm going to even revisit it. I have the King of Hearts number 19. I didn't get that one tested yet. So I'm going to send that one in for testing once I can, see if it has higher terps, or if that's worth doing into some crosses. And because this is that heart shot, and it smells like straight bubblegum, guys. I never got to experience a bubblegum like pheno or strain before, the money shot. And then that's why I tried to cross that with the Heartbreaker, and I did successfully. And then I ended up with the heart shot, and really was happy to see that I locked in some of those bubblegum traits, because a lot of them had that smell. So I picked out the one that had the sweetest bubblegummy smell, and then grew out a couple of them, and my favorite was that one, so I kept that one. That's what you see here in this grow, and very excited for what's going on here. And so here's my buddy Johnny Mag.
What happened to all your weed, dude?
We smoked it.
And this is how you really clean a pot.
There was only like 2 or 3 nugs left over there. I just took a few little puffs. I don't know what happened.
Why is there a chair in here?
Disinfecting the room.
Yeah, so that's how you really clean a room. That's the method right there. So after we're done cleaning, it's time to, get all the harvested stuff together. We've had them drying in here for several days now, and I'm sticking to the Canatrol method. Check out my blog where I have the full dry to harvest video. Where I have like a really detailed dry and curing video and how to dry and cure like a pro. And then I have a newer one where I go over the Canatrol method, and I'll try to do a new up-to-date to that, but the blog itself has all the info that you need and all the parameters that you need to follow, because I didn't really go into that here. We're just going to do a quick snap, and we're going to show you guys the buds that we harvested here. I forget which one this one was. That might have been the Black Blue Magoo. But now we're at the Heartbreaker F2, and you can see this one's got a really good contrast between the red hairs and the green undertone of the weed. Really nice structure. I kept this one because it was actually more of an outlier. It's actually not really the phenotype that I was trying to select for. It's the ones that are majority in that Heartbreaker F2 are more slender and like more of a foxy strain. So definitely looking for those. This is the East Coast Sweetheart. This one definitely has more of like a sour diesel structure, but it's a little denser because of the East Coast because of the Cherry Pie Kush and the Mendo Breath influence. So you got a little density added to it. It's got a nice gassy smell, nice gassy taste, and a little bit of sourness to it. I wouldn't call it a straight up sour diesel cross yet, even though it is sour diesel in there. I would say once I combine this with some more sour diesel stuff, which I got that old school East Coast sour A-cut from Uncle Doobie that keeps winning awards out in New York. He gave me that before all this happened. So I'm really ecstatic to get that going. And Aficionado Seeds also gave me some Skywalker OG, and I gifted him a couple of my crosses. So I was ecstatic to hear that he heard about the Heart Stomper. So I was at a loss for words, man. So hear someone that legendary to know who I was, I couldn't even understand. But the Heart Shot came out amazing, super bubblegum terps, and we gave away a couple packs, as well as the East Coast Sweetheart. I did a couple giveaways, so check out my Instagram, guys, if you want to get involved with some more giveaways, because I'm also going to be doing one for the King of Hearts, which releases on 4/20, so we got just a couple weeks before that comes out. But I like doing these little duck races, so I share the winner on my story on Instagram, and I think this one was Mr. Sin 420 and someone by the name of Brown Alpha. So congrats to them for winning the Heart Shot. I forget who won the East Coast Sweetheart. I only did one for that one, but I might do one or two for the King of Hearts, and we'll see. But I know I'm already slacking on the next grow, so now it's time to get these girls in there. And like I said, that's why I think I'm going to switch. You can see these are the ones that I re-vegged on the right there, and then on the left are the clones. So I think from now on I'm going to try to, like a week before this, I should have put them into 2-gallon pots, and then they would get another 2 weeks in the 2-gallon pots. That would give me actually like 4 or 5 weeks of proper veg before I have any issues, because I'd have like 2 or 3 weeks in the 1 gallon, and then 2 or 3 weeks in the 2 gallons. So that would be that'd be fine. And it's because you're already wasting a couple weeks just getting them in the solo cups and stuff. So that's like 2 months. That would give me plenty of time to really get them up to size and get them where they need to be. It's actually more like 3 months is what I need. So, but by the time you pop them, you get them in the solo cups, it's already been a week, and then I don't really count the time until they're actually above the soil. So that's like 3 weeks in solo cups, and then you got another 3 or 4 weeks in the 1 gallon pots. They really should only be in there for 2 or 3, but I'll have to do 3 or 4, and then I could do up to 3 or 4 in the 2 gallon pots. So at that point, I'd be working with almost 3 months. So that's right where I want to be. And so I think what I'll do is I'll pop my seeds just a little bit later than the clones. We'll let the clones go and root. And then once the clones are rooted, that's when we'll pop our seeds, because that will make more sense. Or right when they're about to be rooted. So that'll make perfect timing. And, you could see that we ended up with some great nugs, some great smoke and flavor, some awesome effects, and even though they didn't come in the top 10, I actually placed in the top 20 in both of those entries. So even though they weren't really quite ready, and I knew that they weren't, I'm really excited to enter some of the better, really perfectly timed, perfectly grown my best selections that I'm gonna be putting out forward. So now that I have all this work that I've done, now I just need to select through my inventory, and I'm gonna put out some crazy fruity stuff. We got the blue grapes, which is just what I'm calling it for now. I'm gonna call it something else, but it's the Heart Stomper crossed with the Blue Power and the Mendo Perp. So that's gonna be some crazy grapey blueberry crosses. I mean, I the flavor or smells coming off it already are crazy. And then we also have our crazy hella jelly crosses. I'm calling it the Heart Jelly right now, but we'll probably call it something else because that's only personal. I don't even have extra seeds of that, so I'm gonna either select something from that and maybe I'll reverse that and use that for my my reversal projects. And then I'm also gonna S1 it probably because I want to lock in those jelly terps. And then also it's either gonna be between that or the blue grapes, but those names aren't gonna stay the same, so I'm just calling them that for now, for lack of a better term. But it's that the lime jelly, the heart jelly is hella jelly crossed with Max Stomper and Kosher Kush, which I crossed together to make lime jelly. And then I took that, crossed it into the Heartbreaker. So now we have heart jelly, and yeah, it's going to be fucking fire. I'm just really excited to show it. And then we also have the Gary Payton cross that I made. So then we're growing out the Kiwi. Then we're also growing the Black Blue Magoo clone and a Heart King of Hearts clone that I wanted to keep. And then also 2 of the Grape Stomper, because we love the Grape Stomper. And what else did I have in there? Oh, the Kiwi. I think I already said that. So yeah, we're pretty locked in, and we're going to get some really good plants this grow. So stay tuned for that. And I promise that the next seed to harvest is going to be more well put together. Still not perfect until the one after that. I promise it's just going to keep improving from here, though, now that I'm back on track. And I appreciate you guys supporting and helping me get through this rough period. But we're all in this together. So thank you guys for watching. And until next time, stay up, buds.